Revenge films.
Back then, it was just the three of us, my husband, our child, and me living together. One day, our child had to undergo surgery, and while everything was chaotic and stressful, I discovered that my husband was having an affair. It started with strange, silent phone calls, both to our home phone and my cell phone. At the time, my mind was completely consumed with my child's medical situation, so I didn't think much of it. But later, I realized those calls were harassment from the woman he was cheating with. Eventually, I found a hotel key card under the passenger seat of his car and long strands of hair that clearly weren't mine. Our marriage quickly fell apart. We fought constantly, and in the end, we got divorced. What hurt the most wasn't just the fact that he cheated. What I could never forgive was the timing. Our child was about to go through surgery, and instead of being there for us, he chose to meet up with someone else. That betrayal, his decision to prioritize his affair over his own child's well-being, was the deepest wound. After the divorce, I fell into depression. I couldn't let my child see me like that, so I decided to move back to my parents' house in the countryside to recover. It took about 2 years to really feel stable again, and I couldn't have done it without my parents' support. Then, during that time, my cousin went through a divorce as well. His wife had cheated on him too, and she had been neglecting their child. My aunt, his mother, started coming over to our house to talk things through with my mom, since they were both dealing with similar situations. My cousin was working full-time, so my aunt had taken over caring for his child. While she and my mom talked, I'd often watch over the kids, my own and my cousin's, so they could play together. At some point, I started thinking seriously about going back to work, but my parents were worried. After all the progress I'd made, they didn't want me to jump into something stressful and end up back where I started. They encouraged me to take it slow. That's when my aunt made a suggestion. Why not work part-time as a babysitter for my cousin's child? She was also taking care of her elderly in-laws and said it was getting too hard to do everything alone. At first, I felt uncomfortable taking money from family, but she said she'd rather have someone she trusts and who the child is already attached to than hire a stranger. She offered to pay me for the help. So I started working as a babysitter. My cousin would drop his child off at daycare in the morning, and I'd pick them up at 5 p.m. I'd give them dinner, help with bath time, play with them, and then bring them home to my cousin and his parents by 9 p.m. I did that 6 days a week, and they paid me $600 a month, including expenses. Honestly, I felt guilty because the arrangement seemed too generous, but my cousin kept saying how grateful he was, telling me things like,
"You've really saved us. The kids are so happy playing together, and my child is in such a good mood today."
He even gave me extra money or bought things for my own child, just out of appreciation. But then one day, my peaceful life took a turn. Somehow, word about my situation reached my ex-husband and the woman he had cheated with. For some reason, they got it into their heads that I was going to marry my cousin. That was when the harassment began. I started getting phone calls and letters signed by both of them, filled with cruel words like,
"You're a mother. What are you doing trying to be sexy?"
"A single mom acting so shameless? No wonder your kid's gonna turn out awful." My father and our lawyers stepped in, warning them to stop contacting me, and I even consulted the police. But my ex-husband kept insisting.
"I pay child support. That gives me the right to speak up about how my child is being raised."
The harassment only got worse. I was terrified that the situation would eventually affect my parents and child too. So I made the decision to move out of my family's home. It was clear that I was the target. I hated the idea of being away from my child. But until I could establish a safe and stable life in a new place, I asked my parents to continue caring for them. I also apologized to my cousin, who had been relying on me for help. He looked disappointed, but was incredibly kind, telling me that my safety was the most important thing. I chose to relocate to a place that had no connection to my past, somewhere neither my ex nor anyone from that life would know. I found an apartment with strong security features, and little by little, I began to rebuild. Finding a new job and navigating new social dynamics was tough, but I stayed focused on one goal: creating an independent, stable life where I could live peacefully with my child. After a while, things started to settle, and I finally felt ready to bring my child to live with me again. But then, one night, I'll never forget it, I came home a little after 9 p.m. To my surprise, the lights in my apartment were on. No one had ever visited me there, not my parents, not my child, and I hadn't given anyone a spare key. I thought maybe I just forgot to turn them off when I rushed out this morning. Still, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. Just in case, I pulled out my phone and opened the dial screen, ready to call 911 if I needed to. But when I reached for the door, I found it was unlocked. Since the harassment had started, I'd become extremely cautious, double-checking locks, making sure the stove was off, everything. There was no way I'd forget to lock the door. I hesitated, then called my landlord, who I had told about my situation early on. I considered calling the police, but part of me still worried that maybe I was overreacting. The landlord answered right away, and when I explained what was happening, he said,
"In cases like this, it's better to have some extra help."
A few minutes later, he showed up with his 2 adult sons. The landlord and his 2 sons entered the apartment to check things out while I waited outside the door. As they stepped inside, they heard a noise coming from the bedroom and froze in the hallway, startled. A moment later, a woman suddenly appeared from the bedroom and looked at them calmly, asking, "Who are you?" The landlord shot back,
"The real question is, who are you?"
At that, the woman panicked. Her face changed instantly. She tried to slip past them and leave the apartment in a hurry, but there was no chance of escape. Both of the landlord's sons practiced judo, and they were strong and physically imposing. They quickly restrained her without much effort. From where I was standing, I cautiously peeked into the room, and just as I had feared, it was her, the other woman, the one my ex-husband had cheated with. She started yelling at the landlord's sons, "Why are you here? Where is that woman?" Not long after, the police arrived. Since the situation could easily turn volatile, they were careful to make sure she didn't see me. They guided her out and into the squad car without us ever crossing paths. After that, the landlord and I walked through the apartment to check for damage, and I gave my statement to the police. By the time it was all over, it was well past midnight. I was shaken to the core. How did she even find out where I lived? That fear haunted me for days, until the court proceedings revealed the truth. Apparently, my ex-husband and his mistress had conspired together to break into my apartment. They had pieced together my address by going through my family's mail and even digging through our trash. The reason my ex-husband hadn't shown up himself? According to her, they had decided it would seem less suspicious for her to enter the building alone, rather than a man lurking around outside. But that plan backfired, very badly. She was easily caught, and once she realized she was about to face serious consequences alone, she panicked. She gave up my ex-husband's name, and in the end, both of them were arrested. Later, one of the police officers, still puzzled by the whole situation, asked them why they'd go so far as to break into my home. From what they gathered, the woman genuinely believed I was in a relationship with my cousin and that we were living a wealthy, carefree life together. She and my ex-husband had been completely ostracized after their affair became public. They were both laid off from their jobs and had no money and felt like everyone had turned their backs on them. So when they heard that I was living comfortably as a stay-at-home mom, they became bitter and jealous. They thought that if they harassed me enough and snuck into my apartment, they'd find bank books, cash, or personal seals. Their entire plan was based on wild assumptions and spite. It was so absurd and misguided that I could hardly believe it. In fact, their arrest made the news, and their photos were published in the local papers. With criminal records and their faces out there, any chance of rejoining society was lost. Later, I heard through the grapevine that they had become homeless, seen wandering parks and train stations. To be honest, I already knew what kind of people they were, especially after the way my ex acted during our child's surgery. But to see just how far they were willing to go, driven by resentment and obsession, it was chilling. Still, because I never came face to face with them that night, they never actually confirmed where I lived. In their minds, my exact location remained unknown, and that meant my child and I could finally live in peace, safe and without fear. As for my cousin, I had been worried about him too, but not long after all this, he actually met someone new. It turned out to be a true turning point in his life. He got remarried and began a fresh, happy life as a family of 3. Those two, my ex and his affair, got exactly what they deserved. And after everything, both my cousin and I were finally able to reclaim the calm, ordinary happiness we had lost. Honestly, that's all I ever wanted. I'm Abby. I moved into the city after college and have been working with a company for 10 years now. I focused on my work and career and didn't think about marriage until I was 32. I met Leland through my work and we became close. He was single and we were about the same age. He asked me to go out with him with the intention of marriage, and we started seeing each other. Things went very well and we got married a year later. I found out we were from the same region when we visited our parents to introduce ourselves. While we were having dinner at a fancy restaurant, I found out more and exclaimed, "I knew we were from the same state, but from the same city? What a coincidence!"
Well, it's a large city.
He seemed surprised too, but not as much as I was. That's true, but we met in a big city and we were from the same countryside. It's almost miraculous, don't you think? I knew we were from the same state, but we grew up in almost the same neighborhood. Which junior high did you go to? When I told him my school, he told me his. Wow, that's right in the school district next to ours.
Yeah, and I'm a year older than you.
I asked about his high school next, and it was also close to mine. Wow, it's been more than 10 years already. These past years eased my school days trauma considerably and helped me think about marriage. When I was 13, I started being traumatized by a bad case of stalking. I was walking home after school, and he was always walking behind me. I found some creepy notes in our mailbox which read, "I'm always looking out for you. This must be destiny. I want us to have 2 children," which gave me goosebumps. The stalking continued for 5 years until I turned 18. I'm not particularly pretty like a model. In the beginning, I thought he would get tired of it soon, but he was obsessive. "Please stop doing these things to me." At one point, I told him directly, but this stalker didn't stop following me or writing to me. He looked creepy too. He was probably a year or two older than me, a little fat and a greasy-looking guy. He wore eyeglasses with a thick plastic frame and always had his head down, so I don't remember his face very much. I was so scared that I hardly ever looked at his face straight. When I was in high school, I couldn't stand his relentless behavior anymore and had a boyfriend in an attempt to repel the guy. The guy became jealous and angry. The stalking didn't stop, but he started muttering while following me. I asked my boyfriend to threaten the guy, but it didn't work. That boyfriend and I didn't last long. I talked to my school teacher and my parents, but they didn't take me seriously. Probably because the stalker was just a boy of my age and not an adult. To them, it looked like just a boy with love troubles. "No matter how many letters you write to me, I would never go out with you. Please stop following me. You're scaring me." I spelled it out like this clearly and directly with no avail. He didn't change a thing. After 5 years of his harassment, I became afraid of men. After I moved to a big city to go to college, and even after I got a job, I wasn't interested in having a boyfriend. But time heals, and when I reached 30, I was no longer afraid. Then the first man who appeared in my life after that was Leland. Plus, he's from my hometown. I tried to think positively to blow away the anxiety I had before getting married. Then I got married. Leland was a caring person, maybe because we were newlyweds. He would come with me even for a short trip to a corner store. He carried the bags for me, but he was a jealous type, and when I had a small talk with a male store clerk, he didn't like it. I tried to think positively. That's only because he loved me. When we visited his parents' house, I asked Leland to show me his childhood photos. I asked before, but he never showed them to me. I felt a little uneasy about it.
I told you before, but when I was younger, I was a rebel with dyeing my hair purple and...
I don't mind if you were a rebel in your teenage years.
But I was rebellious at home and don't have any photos with my family.
But you have photos after you've grown up. You showed me some before. Do you really have none? When we were talking like this, his mother approached us smiling. "That's not true. Here." There are many photos from his school days, but then his mother opened their album for me. There was no purple hair boy, but I spotted the photo of his parents with a boy with a dull look. The boy was a little fat and wore eyeglasses with a thick frame which was eerily familiar. No! Why was that stalker with Leland's parents? At that moment, I froze and my blood ran cold. My mind went blank. My mother-in-law told me some of his childhood episodes, but they fell on deaf ears. No way! Leland was that stalker? That stalker is my husband? And he got me married to him. It was beyond horror. We came back home and I asked him as calmly as possible, "Please tell me the truth. Were you my stalker?" He didn't say anything. The way he looked down was horrifically familiar. He's not fat anymore and doesn't wear eyeglasses, though. Probably he lost weight and switched to contact lenses. We met through work when we were over 30, didn't we? You said we'd never met before at that time, didn't you? He seemed determined to remain silent, but I was sure. I was convinced that he was that man. "Say something or I'll divorce you right away." Then he finally talked.
I don't understand why you're so angry.
Did you hear a word I said? You lied to me. You deceived me.
Deceive is a strong word. Have you ever asked me if I was that stalker? I didn't say because you didn't ask me.
Don't give me that crap. You lied to me over and over again. You said we met for the first time, and you said you didn't have any photos. What went through your mind when I told you about my traumatic experience from a stalker? I thought he was going to say that he was laughing inside, but his reaction was something out of context.
I was glad to find out you remembered me. You remembered me after more than 10 years. I knew then it was destiny.
He went on and on without me asking. It was love at first sight for him. He felt it was something like a cosmic thing and was determined to get me no matter what. He collected information about me, researched me even after I left my home. It was no coincidence we met in the city. It never was. After he told me all this, I felt sick. That stalking never stopped. It was always going on behind my back. I thought I had finally gotten rid of him when I moved to the city, but that was an illusion. Let's get divorced.
You're making a man's pure love for someone sound like a crime. I won't forgive you.
You haven't changed, essentially, since you were stalking me. You are thinking only about yourself. That's all that matters to you.
It was all for you. I tried so hard, all because of you.
I never asked. Actually, I begged you to stop it more than once, but you completely disregarded my feelings and my fear. You are sick. I am divorcing you. I filed for a divorce. He went back to being a stalker. I talked to a lawyer and the police. They found the case extreme and malicious, and he was arrested. He said,
I was just looking out for her.
But he was definitely a stalker. A teenage boy and a 30-something man are not the same. The authorities judged him as a stalker. He was officially a stalker, a criminal.
My name is Tom. It's been 2 years since I married my wife, Lauren. We met at a group dating party when we were both 30. After a year of dating, we got married. Including the time we dated, it's been 3 years now. That initial lovey-dovey feeling we had when we first got together is long gone. But I actually saw that as a good thing. We've settled down as a couple. Maybe it's time to have a child. But Lauren felt differently. She insisted that the spark we had when we first started dating or during our honeymoon phase is what true love is. Naturally, she also shot down the idea of having a baby with a cold, I can't have a child if I don't feel loved. I understood. It's her body after all, so I decided to wait until her feelings changed. Lauren has always been a huge fan of romance movies and dramas. Her favorite phrase was, I wish I could experience a love like that. I tried my best to meet her expectations. I once gave her a bouquet of roses, and I often told her I loved her. But it seemed that wasn't enough. She would often sigh while watching TV and say things like,
I want to experience a dramatic love like this. I long for the thrill of a dangerous romance.
Over the past 3 months, her behavior started to change. First, our sex life came to a halt. Then she began complaining about everything, like tiny things, and whenever I pushed back even a little, she'd have a meltdown. For example, there was this one time I left the lights on in the room because I was planning to come right back. I was gone for maybe 2 minutes, but she yelled at me the moment she noticed.
You left the lights on. What is wrong with you?
I was coming right back. I just left them on for a bit.
Even 2 or 3 minutes costs electricity. It's because of your laziness that you're such a failure.
You don't have to go that far. She screamed at the top of her lungs.
Ugh, I seriously cannot take this anymore. How can you talk back when you're the one being corrected? I don't get it. I can't go on like this. At this rate, we might as well get divorced.
Just like always, she ended the fight by yelling. If Lauren were the type of person who was particular about the little things, I might have understood. But she wasn't. She often forgot to turn off the lights herself. She was the kind of person who left her phone lying around all the time. Pretty careless, honestly. Still, I found it hard to argue back. I didn't want to get divorced over something this trivial. I began to wonder if maybe there was something else bothering her, some stress she was dealing with. I tried to gently bring it up, so I asked her questions like, "You've been going out with your girlfriends on weekends a lot. Things going okay with them? And is your part-time job giving you a hard time?" But she snapped back.
God, you're so annoying. Why do I have to report every little thing to you?
So, yeah, that didn't get me very far. After nearly 3 months of constant worrying, I happened to pick up Lauren's phone in the living room. She had just been texting someone, and what popped up on the screen were messages from another man. Messages like, "Just dump that boring husband already and be with me," and "Lauren, I love you more than anyone in the world. Let's make our dreams come true together." Her replies were just as sickeningly sweet, like, "I want to be with you soon, and your dream is my dream." This guy clearly had way too much free time. He sent her these long, cringe-worthy messages all the time, basically bad poetry. Why would she fall for someone like this? I was shocked in more ways than one. Does this guy even have a real job? How does he have time to text so much? I couldn't help but wonder what kind of job let him sit around writing long love letters all day. I took photos of their messages as evidence. And to think I was seriously stressing out, afraid she'd divorce me. What a joke! All those petty complaints, all the times she threw the D word around, it was because she was cheating on me. No wonder she didn't want kids. Fine then, she can have him. In fact, I'll be the one to divorce her. I suddenly found myself laughing at how I'd been tormented for nearly 3 months. It all seemed so stupid now. I hired a private investigator. Every week, Lauren would tell me she was going to hang out with her girlfriends. Turns out that was a lie. She was meeting him. Bit by bit, evidence piled up. Photos of them holding hands, linking arms, kissing. Even in public, Lauren would reach up and ask him for a kiss like some lovesick teenager, and he'd kiss her back like he had every intention of stealing her away. So this was the kind of beautiful movie-like romance she was always talking about? To me, it just looked like they were high on the drama of having an affair. About 2 weeks later, I checked her phone again. She was careless like that, often leaving it around unlocked. The passcode was laughably simple. And just as always, the guy was flooding her inbox with messages. "I love you! Let's get married! Let's make our dreams come true!" And Lauren, she was all in, totally caught up in the fantasy. Then one night, as I came home from work, Lauren approached me.
Hey, there's something I need to talk to you about.
Just that one line, and I knew. I hit record on my phone quietly. "What is it?" She hesitated, then said,
Lately, I feel like things between us have been really off, like we're not working anymore.
"We're not working because you keep picking fights with me, but okay." I said nothing.
For over 3 months now, I've been doing my best. I've tried to fix things between us, but you haven't been trying hard enough. I can't trust you anymore. That's why I want a divorce.
Inside, I screamed, "You're the one who can't be trusted!" But outwardly, I kept my calm and asked, "What exactly did I do wrong? I've been fixing the things you pointed out. I've been helping out with the housework. I've kept up with work."
Still, we've been fighting constantly. We barely even talk anymore. I don't think I can see a future with you.
I hear you, but can you tell me the real reason?
I just did.
Really? Come on. We've been together for what, about 3 years? You're really going to end it like this? Don't I at least deserve to know the truth? I said it with the tone of a man in a romantic drama, just the way she liked those love stories. I imagined the kind of scenes from her favorite romance movies, and then her eyes started to fill with tears.
I've fallen in love with someone else. I've found what real love feels like. But that doesn't mean I hate you or anything. It's just that I met someone even more wonderful. If only we had met in a different order.
Then she went on rambling like she was reciting lines from one of those over-the-top romance movies she loved so much. I waited for the right moment and calmly asked, "So, how long have you been seeing him?"
We met half a year ago. It was a snowy night. We started dating about 3 months ago. Now he and I have decided to start a new life together, to pursue our dream.
"Your dream? A new life?" I asked. Apparently, the guy used to work at a hair salon. His big dream? Opening his own place someday.
And with the settlement money I'll get from you, I am going to help fund his salon. His dream is my dream too.
I had to stifle a laugh. "You're calling it your dream, but you're planning to fund it with my money?" And from the way she's talking, it sounds like this guy actually thinks he's entitled to compensation too? This is going to be fun. Now I had everything I needed, even her own confession. I was ready. I told both Lauren and her lover I wanted to talk about the settlement. I arranged to meet them in person. The guy showed up first, puffed up with self-importance, and immediately blurted out, "With the money I get from you, I'm gonna open my own salon. We're gonna live out our dream together."
Thank you. We're going to be so happy, the two of us.
I said we needed to talk about compensation, but I never said I was the one paying, did I? You two are the ones who will be paying damages. It's only natural. The guilty party in an affair pays. That's how it works. I'm demanding $20,000 from each of you. The two of them sat there, dumbfounded, mouths agape. I've already left everything to my lawyer. If you've got a problem, take it up with them. With that, I said what I needed to say and walked away without looking back. As a result of the consequences I laid out, their big dream of opening a salon was completely derailed. Apparently, my ex-wife had been hoping to squeeze about $33,000 out of me. Instead, they ended up having to pay a total of $40,000. That's a $73,000 swing in the wrong direction. Naturally, there was no way they could move forward with their business plans. As for their relationship, well, word is they broke up. If this were a romance drama, I suppose you'd call it a turbulent and dramatic final episode. But in the end, my ex-wife was left alone, past 30, in debt, and single. Then again, she only has herself to blame.
One day, I got a text from my fiancé. We were supposed to get married next year. It said,
Told them I'd be late because of a work party so I can spend the whole night relaxing with Sarah at my place.
Wait, what? At first, I couldn't even process what he meant. But about 30 seconds later, it hit me. That message wasn't meant for me. Right then, I knew he was cheating. My first instinct was to blow up his phone and confront him, but instead, I decided to play dumb, so I texted back, "What are you talking about? I told you I had a party tonight, remember?" A little while later, he replied,
"Oh no! I totally got mixed up. I'm so sorry, and I even used the wrong name. Are you really not coming over tonight? I miss you."
I kept going. "Yeah, it'll probably run late, sorry, but we'll see each other tomorrow, right?"
"Okay, I'll just hang in there until tomorrow then."
"All right, I'll call you later." Of course, there was no party. I called my mom immediately. My mom and I have always been close. We go shopping together all the time, and she's always down for a little adventure. When I told her what happened, she sounded almost excited. "Ooh, sounds like something's going down." So I brought her with me to catch him red-handed. We'd been together for a year. He had already met my parents. We were practically living together, and I had a key to his place, so I went straight to his apartment. He wasn't there yet, but I knew what was about to happen. So I took the liberty of removing all the tissue boxes and every single condom from his drawer. Then I met up with my mom, and we started our little stakeout. Sure enough, he and Sarah showed up together, laughing and walking into his apartment. Not long after, the lights went off. But just a few minutes later, the lights came back on, probably when he realized all the usual supplies was missing. That's when I took the photo. Flash went off.
"Whoa, what the hell?"
They both turned around, completely naked, and looking like they'd seen a ghost. I calmly said, "It's all out in the open now. Just stay right where you are." He looked stunned.
"Wait, what? I thought you said you had a party tonight."
He was clearly panicking, and then my mom stepped into view. She just smiled and said, "Well, well, mind explaining what exactly is going on here?" At that point, he gave up. He knew he was done. After snapping a few more photos for evidence, I told them to get dressed so we could have a little chat. I sat them down and said, "Hi there, I'm Anne, his fiancée. Why don't you go ahead and explain what's going on? Unless you'd prefer I ask someone else?" As I said that, I casually started tapping away on Sarah's phone. Panicked, she jumped in. "No, wait! He's my senior at work. I fell for him first. I knew he was engaged, but I just couldn't help myself." "Oh, I see. So you fell for him first, and you knew he was engaged?" "I did feel bad for his girlfriend, but it's all my fault. I'm the stupid one here. Please don't blame Matt, just blame me. I'll take full responsibility." I stared at her, tried to hide how disgusted I was by her tragic heroine routine. Was she seriously trying to paint herself as some kind of martyr? Still smiling, I said sweetly, "Wow, your honesty and devotion are really something. You must have loved Matt that much, huh?" "Yes, I did. I know it's wrong. I'll take all the blame. I'm so sorry." Matt, sitting beside her, was visibly moved. His eyes even welled up a little.
"Sarah!"
he whispered, like he was in some sort of dramatic movie scene. I leaned in just a bit, still calm and pleasant. "All right then, if you're taking full responsibility, I'll go ahead and send both of you the bill for the emotional damages." "Wait, what?" Sarah looked up at me, totally stunned, like it had never once crossed her mind that there might be actual consequences. "This is really something, isn't it? True love. In that case, we'll handle the legal details through my attorney." What do you mean by damages? What are you talking about?" she asked, clearly confused and starting to panic. I tilted my head slightly and said, "Oh dear, you didn't know? Matt and I have already completed our engagement ceremony. We're officially engaged, and cheating during an engagement is treated just like cheating during marriage in legal terms, which means I have every right to sue both of you for emotional distress. You did know he was engaged, right? You just said so. Plus, didn't you say you'd take full responsibility? Or were you not aware of the consequences after all?" I said all of this in one breath, rapid fire, without giving her time to process. Sarah turned pale, frozen, totally speechless.
How much are we talking for this compensation?
Matt finally spoke, just as pale as Sarah. Well, I was thinking about $31,000 from you and maybe half that from Sarah. But since she said she'd take full responsibility, she can cover the whole thing, right? I don't have that kind of money. That's impossible. Oh, really? But you just said you'd take full responsibility. What exactly did you mean by that? You didn't seriously think just saying sorry counted as taking responsibility, did you? Sarah blinked, stunned. Then she dropped the innocent act and snapped. Nobody told me anything about compensation. I didn't know. Oh, that's a problem, isn't it? Well then, I guess Matt will have to pay too. Sarah, can you manage $15,500? No way! I can't pay that! Well, then maybe we should talk to your parents. I picked up her phone and called her mom. What I got on the other end was someone even more unhinged than Sarah. Hi, I'm calling regarding your daughter. She's been having an affair with my fiancé, and I've just been talking to them both about it. What? Don't lie to me. Sarah's not that kind of girl. You don't even have proof, do you? Just making stuff up to ruin her name. I'm not letting this slide. Oh, there's plenty of proof. Would you like me to send a photo of your daughter naked in bed with my fiancé? What did you just say? I sent the photo. A beat passed. Do you believe me now? I'd like to speak with all involved parties as soon as possible. Could you and your husband come by tomorrow? Fine. We'll come. At least she agreed to meet, though I had no doubt she'd be the kind of person to make everything 10 times more difficult. Next, I called Matt's parents. His mother was horrified and kept apologizing over and over. His father, on the other hand, was absolutely furious. We all agreed to meet the following day. At the meeting, I laid everything out, every detail of the affair, with every piece of evidence neatly presented. I showed the photos, I played the texts, I didn't leave a single thing out. Both sets of parents looked completely shaken. Matt's parents were trembling with shame. Sarah's parents were trembling with rage. Then her mother turned on her. Sarah, did you really know? Did you know he was engaged? Were you tricked by this guy or what? I jumped in before Sarah could spin it. Actually, she admitted yesterday, in her own words, that she knew he was engaged. Shut up! I'm asking to my daughter! Sarah, answer me! Sarah flinched, looking like she'd deeply regretted opening her mouth the night before. I knew. So we'll be demanding $31,000 from Matt, and half of that, $15,500, from Sarah. Any objections? The moment Matt stammered,
I can't pay that much.
His father finally snapped and slammed his fist down.
Don't you dare say something stupid like that! After what you've done, you planned to keep this up even after getting married if you hadn't been caught? No money? Then take out a loan and pay up! And before that, get on your knees and apologize, you idiot son!
Matt went down on his knees, eyes watering from the pain and shame, and kept apologizing. But the real showdown was just beginning. I asked, "And what about you, Sarah?" Of course, her mother jumped right in. There's no way she can pay that! $15,500 for a little affair? That's highway robbery. Too bad. Then I guess we'll take this to court. Suddenly, Sarah's father, who'd been silent until then, panicked and said,
No! We'll pay it! We'll pay it properly!
I was surprised. He'd been practically invisible until then. A heated argument broke out.
Enough already! You ruined someone's marriage! How could you say that? This isn't just about money! If this goes to court, Sarah will never have a proper marriage or even a job again! Do you understand that?
Sarah's mom went pale and stayed silent after that. And so the engagement between Matt and me was broken off, and Matt and Sarah agreed to pay the compensation. But then Matt started flooding me with Romeo emails.
I was wrong. I took your love for granted and hurt you, but I finally woken up. You're the only one for me. Let's start over. Why won't you reply? I love you so much. Let's forget the past and start fresh. If we get back together, that means no more compensation, right? We could even take a trip with that money.
I was so fed up, I immediately contacted Matt's dad. I warned him that if Matt sent another message, the compensation would double. Matt's dad blew up, but quickly took action, and the messages stopped. After that, Matt got fired and was forced into a relative's construction company. Apparently, it's a rough place full of people who look like gangsters. He was put into company housing and can't run away until he pays back $31,000. Honestly, serves him right.
My name is Jackson. At just 22 years old, I've already made a name for myself by running a successful farming business. Around here, I've become a bit of a local celebrity. TV crews and magazine reporters have started showing up lately, and thanks to those appearances, I've been getting attention from people of all ages. But getting to this point wasn't easy. It took a lot of struggles to get here. I grew up in a family of 4: my mom, dad, younger brother, and me. Ever since I was little, my parents called me the disappointment of a big brother, while my younger brother referred to me as the unfortunate older sibling. The reason? I wasn't as good looking as he was. My parents were both considered quite attractive when they were young, constantly showered with attention. My brother clearly inherited those genes, and he's the kind of guy everyone agrees is handsome. But me? I don't look like either of them. In fact, my appearance is the total opposite of attractive. I look more like my grandfather on my dad's side, who used to be a master carpenter. So it's clear I'm not adopted or anything, but still, my parents treated me like I didn't belong. That kind of treatment became normal. I grew up hurt by the very people who were supposed to love me most. Things got even worse when I entered middle school. My parents started acting like I wasn't worth spending money on. While my brother got to join clubs and take lessons, I wasn't allowed to do anything. Instead, I was stuck doing all the chores around the house. By the time I reached high school age, my parents flat out told me, "High school isn't mandatory. You're not going." They said I needed to get a job instead. So I gave up on going to high school and started looking for work. Around that time, something unexpected happened. I ran into my grandfather on my dad's side in town. When I was little, my dad had secretly taken out a loan under Grandpa's name. When he found out, it led to a huge fight, and our family cut ties with him. We hadn't seen each other in 10 years, but the moment he saw me, Grandpa recognized me right away. He came over, gently patted my head, and said, "You've grown up so much. I've missed you." When my grandpa asked about high school, I told him I wasn't going and was looking for a job instead. That's when he said, "Then come work for me, but don't tell your father." Just like that, I secretly started working for my grandfather as a carpenter. At first, I was completely wiped out by the end of each day. It was exhausting. But Grandpa patiently and passionately taught me everything he knew about the trade. Thanks to his guidance, by the time I was in my 20s, I'd become skilled enough to be recognized as a full-fledged carpenter. Once I started working, my routine changed. I'd leave home early in the morning and eat dinner at my grandparents' house before heading back. I barely spent any time with my immediate family anymore, and for the first time in my life, I experienced what it felt like to live without constant stress. Even though my parents took every cent of my paycheck and I had almost no money to myself, my grandma made me lunch every day, and dinner was always a warm, home-cooked meal. I truly had no complaints. But that peace didn't last forever. Right after I turned 20, my grandpa fell ill. The illness left his left hand paralyzed. Thankfully, it wasn't his dominant hand, and doctors said with rehab he could still manage day-to-day life. But given his age, he was already past retirement, so it became clear he wouldn't be able to continue working as a carpenter. "I'm sorry, Jackson," he said one evening, his voice heavy with regret. I tried to keep my spirits up and said, "It's okay, Grandpa. I'll use everything you taught me and find a new job." I put on a brave face, but deep down, I was scared. I kept wondering who's going to hire someone who never even finished high school. Still, I started job hunting with everything I had. I spent every day looking, but finding work wasn't easy. Meanwhile, my parents started flipping out. "Why are you home all the time? What happened to your job?" When I told them I was unemployed, they exploded in anger. My brother had just started college, and they screamed at me daily, saying, "How are we supposed to pay his tuition now?" The pressure was overwhelming, and I knew I had to find a job fast, but it wasn't that simple. Days turned into weeks, and before I knew it, 2 months had gone by with no luck. One day, as I was getting ready to head to the employment office, my dad suddenly grabbed me by the collar and said, "Come with me." He pulled me toward the car. My mom and little brother were already inside, and as I got in, they each grabbed one of my arms so I couldn't escape. I had no idea what was going on. After a while, we started driving up a steep, winding mountain road. Then my dad said, "It should be around here. Ah, there it is." He pointed to a rundown cluster of cabins deep in the woods. The 3 of them dragged me out of the car and shoved me toward the place, laughing.
"This is where lowlifes who didn't finish high school belong,"
my mom sneered. There were 4 old, shabby mountain cabins sitting on a large stretch of land. Honestly, it looked abandoned. But I looked around and thought, maybe this is my chance to use what Grandpa taught me. So I turned to my parents and said, "Wait, seriously? I can have this? Thank you!" My dad burst out laughing and said, "You really want this dump? Fine, it's yours. I even transferred the title to your name. Look!" He shoved a deed into my hands, then he added with a smirk, "Don't starve out here, just eat grass or whatever." They all laughed, got back in the car, and drove off. 1 year later, those broken down cabins completely transformed. What used to be a rotting mountain shack was now a sleek, modern-looking space. The large plot of land had been cleared and cultivated into a lush vegetable garden. I expanded one of the cabins and opened a farm-to-table restaurant using the veggies I grew myself. The other 3 cabins? I turned one into a cozy rental space, another into a book cafe, and used the 3rd as my home. The land was too big to waste, so I added a campsite and barbecue area. In the summer, I even started hosting local artist festivals. The business kept growing, and soon I was making serious money. People in town started calling me a successful entrepreneur. Life was hectic, but I was finally doing what I loved. Until one day, out of nowhere, my parents and brother drove onto the property. Seeing the restaurant packed with customers, my dad screamed, "What the hell is this? What's going on here?" When I explained everything that had happened since they dumped me here, my father's face twisted in anger. "I'm the one who gave you this land! Hand over the profits!" Just then, someone walked out from inside the restaurant, and the moment my father saw who it was, he froze. What are you doing here?" he shouted. It was my grandparents, his own parents. After the land had officially been transferred to me, I went straight to them for advice. When they heard my plans, they were thrilled and offered to help however they could. Grandpa may have retired from carpentry, but he told me with a grin, "Fixing up a few cabins? That's easy work." Plus, Grandma, proud of her cooking skills, insisted on becoming the head chef of the restaurant and threw herself into the role with passion. The business that the three of us had started together kept growing, especially after we began hiring local retirees and stay-at-home parents. Before long, it became a well-known spot, attracting visitors from even outside the prefecture. As Grandpa stepped out of the restaurant and caught sight of my dad, his expression turned icy. "What are you doing here? You abandoned your own son and now you show your face like nothing happened? Get out of here!" he snapped. Grandma followed behind and added coldly,
We cut ties with you over 10 years ago. This is our home, ours and Jackson's, so don't you dare come back.
She opened the car door herself, motioning for my parents and brother to get in. Faced with my grandparents, my parents went quiet. They knew that if the past came up, especially the debts they had once forced onto Grandpa and Grandma, they'd have more than just harsh words to deal with. Silently, they got in the car and left. After that day, things went downhill for them. Without the financial help they'd counted on, my parents couldn't afford to keep my brother in college, and he was forced to drop out. He resented them deeply for it and started taking out his anger at home, shutting himself in his room, refusing to go out, and lashing out violently. My parents, afraid of their own son, ended up living in fear, constantly covered in fresh bruises. Eventually, the stress caught up with my dad. Rumors started spreading at his workplace about how he was always injured, and unable to take it anymore, he quit. My mom, desperate to make ends meet, took a part-time job at a local bar, but ended up drinking heavily and ruining her health. My brother, meanwhile, stopped bathing or leaving his room altogether, vanishing from the outside world. As for me, I was living a life full of smiles, meeting new people every day at the restaurant, now a popular destination. My grandparents often told me they never imagined they'd get to enjoy such a peaceful, happy retirement. They were always on my side, and I couldn't be more grateful for them. Because of that, I've made it my mission to cherish them and make sure they live long, happy lives. My name's Ryan. I'm 26 years old, and after leaving the consulting firm I used to work at, I started my own company and now serve as its CEO. Lately, life's been pretty smooth. I've got a great girlfriend and things are going well, both personally and professionally. But it wasn't always this peaceful. Not too long ago, I was dealing with a serious issue. My ex-girlfriend, Jessica, wouldn't leave me alone. We met at a local bar I used to frequent and started dating when I was 24. At first, I was drawn to her sweet and quirky personality. She seemed adorably scatterbrained in a way that was kind of charming. But as time went on, I started to realize she wasn't just quirky, she had a lot of emotional instability. Jessica had this dramatic, overly clingy side that I just couldn't ignore. She'd say and do things that no reasonable person would ever think to say. One day, after a long stretch of overtime at work, I came home exhausted and found her crouched outside my apartment crying. When I asked her what was wrong, she blurted out,
I missed you. Don't I matter to you anymore?
At the time, I was still an employee, grinding hard and dreaming of one day starting my own business. So having someone emotionally dragging me down like that, It honestly just felt suffocating. I tried calming her down and explaining how important my work was to me, hoping she'd understand. But no matter how I tried to reason with her, Jessica just wasn't having it. She refused to listen. Eventually, she got all worked up and shouted,
What's more important, me or your job?
That was a huge red flag. It was such a childish thing to say, and in that moment, I realized that there's no way I can keep dating someone like this. After about 3 months of dating, I decided it was time to break up. I asked her to meet me at the usual bar after work, and once we sat down, I looked her in the eye and said, I'm sorry, but I think we should break up. The reaction was intense. She burst into tears, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe, and started hyperventilating. It caused a huge scene. Customers and staff started getting involved. Once she finally calmed down a little, she clung to me and begged,
Please don't leave me!
I figured if I kept pushing the breakup right then, the situation would only spiral more, and I didn't want to drag innocent people into our drama. So reluctantly, I decided to hold off on ending things that night. After that night at the bar, Jessica started acting like nothing had ever happened. She treated me just the same as if the whole dramatic scene never took place. But in my mind, I had already made my decision that I was going to break up with her as soon as I found the right moment. I tried to keep things calm so her unstable side wouldn't flare up again, and I kept watching for a safe opportunity to end things. But ironically, I didn't even need to make the move. She beat me to it. One evening, after work, I stepped out of the office as usual, only to find Jessica waiting outside. She walked up to me, looking a little awkward, and suddenly blurted out,
I'm sorry, but let's break up.
I was stunned for a second. I hadn't expected her to initiate the breakup. But honestly, it felt like a golden opportunity, so I didn't hesitate and I said, all right. Then, without me even asking, she launched into her reasons.
I've met someone else. He's super rich and way more high spec than you.
She said smugly, like she was proud of herself. At that point, I couldn't care less. Cool. Well, I wish you the best, I replied, and we parted ways peacefully. Or so I thought. 6 months went by. I'd left my old company, gone independent, and used the network and clients I'd built up to launch a successful business. Things were finally taking off. One day, I went to a networking event for people in my industry. That's where I met her, a stunning woman who immediately caught my eye. It was love at first sight. I made the first move, and we started dating soon after. She wasn't just beautiful, but she was grounded, smart, and supportive, both emotionally and professionally. After the disaster that was my relationship with Jessica, I knew I didn't want another clingy, emotionally unstable partner. I'd learned my lesson, or at least I thought I had. Then, one day, out of nowhere, Jessica started texting me again. Messages like,
I realized I can't live without you.
Began popping up on my phone. It was clear she wanted to get back together. Not wanting any drama, I ignored the texts completely. I figured if I just didn't respond, she'd eventually get the hint and give up. But of course, things didn't go that smoothly. One evening, I was leaving work and walking down the street with my girlfriend when someone suddenly grabbed my shoulder from behind. I turned around, and there she was, Jessica. She looked furious.
Who's this woman?
She snapped. She's my girlfriend, I said calmly. Then, eyes wide with disbelief, she shouted,
How could you have a girlfriend when I'm still here?
I didn't want my girlfriend to get the wrong idea, so I calmly explained to Jessica that we had broken up 6 months ago. That's when Jessica suddenly placed her hand over her stomach and said,
I'm pregnant.
Then, with a bright smile, she added,
Let's get married already. You can take care of me and our baby, okay? You're gonna be a daddy.
I couldn't help but blurt out, whose baby is it exactly? I wasn't even slightly shaken. It was obvious the baby wasn't mine. After all, it had been more than 6 months since Jessica and I had last slept together. Plus, her belly wasn't even showing. Not at all. Anyone could tell the timeline didn't add up. So I asked her, How far along are you? She stammered.
6 months? Maybe, 5? I don't know.
She was clearly scrambling for an answer. I pressed her. If you want to prove the baby's mine, show me your maternity record book. That's when she totally panicked.
Why don't you believe me? We were so in love. If I'd known you were actually going to succeed in your business, I never would have dumped you.
She lunged at me, grabbing my clothes. It looked like she was having a panic attack, but unlike before, I wasn't about to coddle her. I'd fallen for the same tricks too many times, so I wasn't going to fall for them again. Jessica started crying hysterically, completely losing it. The scene was so chaotic that my girlfriend, visibly shaken, called the police. By the time the officers arrived, a crowd had formed around us. Jessica was still sobbing uncontrollably as they helped her into the back of a patrol car to ask what was going on. Even in the car, she kept wailing, clearly overwhelming the officers. I was also questioned by the police, and I told them everything, nothing held back. I let them know that if she continued harassing me, I'd file a formal report. They relayed the warning to Jessica and gave her a serious caution. Realizing she was on the verge of being charged with stalking, Jessica finally calmed down. She stepped out of the patrol car, bowed her head, and apologized to me. The sudden shift in her attitude from full-blown meltdown to eerily calm left me wondering what on earth that whole performance had even been about. After that, I never heard from Jessica again, and peace finally returned to my life. According to rumors I heard from mutual acquaintances, it turns out she actually was pregnant. Apparently, the rich guy she left me for had completely tricked her, and he bolted the moment he found out she was expecting. So her plan was to pin the baby on me, get married, and raise the child together. But when that failed, she supposedly said she wanted to get an abortion, but only to find out she was already past the legal window. That sealed her fate as a single mother. Not confident in raising a child alone, she turned to dating apps, hoping to find a man willing to marry her. But every guy she met figured out she was pregnant and ended up rejecting her. Eventually, Jessica gave up on marriage and had no choice but to tell her parents everything. She moved back to her family home in the countryside to give birth. Her parents lived over 4 hours from Tokyo by bullet train, deep in a snowy region. Once she went back home, she never appeared in front of me again. Well, except for one text.
If you ever feel like getting back together, just come pick me up. I'll be waiting.
That message creeped me out, so I blocked her on the spot. Rumor has it her parents are extremely strict, and she's now raising the child as a single mom with little to no freedom. As for me, about a year into dating my current girlfriend, I proposed, and she said yes. After we got married, she became a full-time housewife to support my busy work life. She cooks delicious meals every day, takes care of all the housework flawlessly, and honestly, every time I look at her, I feel grateful I married her. If I had fallen for Jessica's scheme and ended up marrying her, I wouldn't have any of the happiness I have now. The very thought sends chills down my spine. From here on out, I'm determined to keep working hard. Not just for myself, but for my strong and dependable wife, and build a happy life together as a married couple.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.